And he's one of Detroit's favorite guys, and he's a former pro athlete from the Pittsburgh Steelers and also collegiately from Eastern Michigan University. That's Ron Johnson. I'd like to welcome Ron to the telecast. How you doing, Ron?
Doing fine, doing fine. It's a great day for a football game here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium. The Martin Luther King football team is very impressive, and this is actually their homecoming game, playing against Henry Ford High School. You'll have two excellent football coaches here this afternoon. Two excellent coaches.
You're absolutely right. Your coaches, Jim Reynolds, a coach that's been there before, been in a big dance, and then also Coach Mike Marshall, and he's an excellent coach, and he has had great success. And the kickoff from the King Crusaders in their home yellow jerseys with Detroit Henry Ford in the white road jerseys. Henry Ford coming into this game 3-2 on the year, and King having another excellent season, 5-0 overall. But the Trojans are out to spoil things for Detroit Kings.
Okay, and with the new rule change, Henry Ford will receive the ball at the 35-yard line because the opening kickoff went out of bounds. Mike Marshall played his collegiate football at Michigan State, and he's also a Detroit product also.
Henry Ford, basically a running team. I spoke to Mike Marshall earlier. He said he's going to go to the air in the first play from scrimmage. He does just that.
He had him open, too. It was a good call, an excellent call. I think it caught King a little bit off guard. An excellent call, quick slant, and he was there, just a ball thrown a little bit behind the receiver. It came out in a one-back set with twin receivers to the right and one split end to the left.
And usually out of this formation, Ron, Mike likes to run the ball wide. He likes to spread teams out. This one, Sean Black gives it to the lone setback right up the middle, and not much there. That tough Detroit Kings defense standing up to the test.
Well, physically, if you look at the football players, King is really much bigger in stature as opposed to the Henry Ford football team. So Henry Ford's gonna have to do some things to stay in this football game. They're gonna have to come up with a big play here and a big play there to make this a contest.
That was Dennis Hubbard on the first carry, and this time Sean Black is stopped by that tough Kings defense.
And the linebacker came off that corner untouched, and he caught the quarterback from the blind side. Made a nice tackle, and it's 4th and long. Henry Ford will be forced to punt the football. We'll get our first look at Sterling Anderson. He has about 13 touchdowns so far this football season. He's number 23. He's back deep.
And a lot of people talk about Sterling Anderson. I get a lot of phone calls. He's only a junior. Here's the punt by Henry Ford, a short kick. Not a very good kick as this one bounces, but gets a Henry Ford bounce, and they'll mark it right at the 44-yard line. So King will start their offensive series in good field position. As you said, Ron, Sterling Anderson, and describe the kind of back Sterling Anderson is.
Sterling is an exceptional back. He's a small guy, kind of like Barry Sanders. He's quick. He has good foot speed, but he kind of hides behind that big offensive line. I would imagine that King's offensive line averages between 260 pounds and 270 pounds. And this is a tailor-made offense for a guy like Sterling. With his quickness, once he gets in the secondary, he's very tough.
This is a crosstown match, but 2 years ago, these same two teams met in the city championship game, and it was one great game, and Henry Ford was victorious. And the whistles blow as Detroit King and Coach Reynolds doesn't like what he saw from the first play from scrimmage. What did you see there? Any difference?
I didn't see anything unless they took too much time to get the play off. I couldn't see anything that was going on because actually Henry Ford had players running on and off the football field, so that may have created some confusion. And here we are at Lorenzo Wright Stadium, and it's homecoming for Martin Luther King, and it's a great day for football.
Let me get this starting lineup right here. This is the defensive starting lineup. Lloyd, Feaster, Smith, Grudger, the outstanding running back, Kelly. And there's the defensive linebackers, Sayers, Carmichael, Moore, Baxdale, and Fortunato. So still first down as Detroit King. And look at that young man with the big afro there. He's enjoying this homecoming game here at Detroit King.
Yeah, he looks back like a throwback from the 70s with that big afro.
First down to give to Sterling Anderson, and the quickness of the Detroit Henry Ford defense swarms and maybe stopped Anderson for about a yard loss.
That was good defensive penetration from the Henry Ford football team. Mike Marshall has done a good job with the talent that he has. His guys are not big, but they use their quickness exceptionally well.
Second down, and let's call it 12 for the King Crusaders. Having a pretty good season at 5-0 overall in the Detroit west side of the PSL. And movement from the Henry Ford defense as the Trojans jump off sides, and that's 5 yards against the Trojans.
It appears that they're really trying to get off to a fast start, and they're trying to beat that offensive line.
Second down.
Therefore, they're listening to the quarterback's voice as opposed to watching the football.
Ball at the 49-yard line. Second down. To give to Anderson off the right side.
He picks up a first down.
So Sterling Anderson picks up the first down for the King Crusaders.
And that was a little bit of a misdirection play, and you can see that big offensive line maintain the line that time, and they had a nice lead block going through. So Sterling was able to pop through for a first down. King is staying with this formation. It seems like a power I.
Here's the give to the first back through, and maybe a pickup of the other yard. It gives to the fullback that time. Both these teams produce outstanding ball players. If you watch college football week in and week out, you might hear some names mentioned from Detroit: Henry Ford, Leon Merritt at Colorado, also Clarence Thompson at the University of Michigan, who played for Detroit King, and Leon Merritt, who played for Detroit Henry Ford.
And also Deion Johnson is the starting left cornerback for the University of Michigan. He's also a Martin Luther King product.
That's right. This is an unusual formation for Detroit King, as Anderson is way back in the backfield. They're running the option. But that time, coming up from his strong safety position or defensive end position, that was Dennis Hubbard on the stop for Detroit Henry Ford.
And that was the freshman quarterback, D. Alvin Bryan, who's an exceptional athlete, and he's had a marvelous first half of this football season. He's doing a great job to be a freshman in the 9th grade starting in high school football.
Let's see what the call is. Illegal procedure against the offense, and here it is. And there you see the end of the play there.
He probably should have made that pitch on that play, or either gave it to the first back through. I don't think that they're going to allow the quarterback to turn the ball up and run that option against him. I think Mike ran the option somewhat when he was in college, so he knows about the option.
And that time, the Henry Ford defense defensed it very well.
A little bit of confusion from the King offensive formation. They're coming out with the trips left, almost a Big Ben formation.
Quick pass to the outside. Fumble on the play.
Looks like he's going to be short of the first down. It's 4th down. And Martin Luther King will probably punt the ball and try to back Henry Ford up in the corner.
4th, and let's call it about 7.
To Henry. What's up? How you doing?
In punt formation, Dwayne Gwinner, and back deep for Henry Ford. And this is a beautiful kick into the end zone, and Henry Ford will start their series at the 20-yard line.
1st and 20. That was a good first series for both defensive football teams. Looks like we're going to have a hard-fought game here. Another classic Mike Marshall and Jim Reynolds football game.
Arnell Carmichael was the guy back deep for Henry Ford, number 1. And the kicking game in the PSL has changed over the years. More emphasis being placed on the kicking game.
That's exactly right, because in previous years, that's one thing that has hurt public school league football programs has been the kicking game has not been that strong. But now the kicking game is much better, and many teams are kicking extra points.
That was Dennis Hubbard on the carry right there. Maybe a pickup of about, let's see, we'll call it about 3 yards. No, only about 1 yard. His knee hit the ground. So a gain of about 1 yard on the play.
I tell you, looking at Martin Luther King football team wearing that black and gold, it brings back a lot of memories of being in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform.
Second down and 9 for the Trojans. The give to Grudger, and he has a lot of room. Grudger walking the chalk. One man to beat, and he beats him into the end zone. Touchdown, Henry Ford.
And there are no flags on the play. There are no flags on the play. That is one thing that King has not done this year is give up the big play. And that's what I said earlier. The only way that Henry Ford can stay in this football game is to come up with a few big plays.
79-yard run for Dennis Hubbard as he pops that one for Henry Ford, and that brings a woo over the Henry Ford crowd and a very big woo over the Detroit King crowd as it just stunned everyone.
And I think he caught everybody by surprise. He caught the announcers by surprise. And this is a play that Marshall likes quite a bit. He comes out with those 3 backs, and the quarterback normally keeps and tries to go around. And he does. He scores the extra point.
He gets in for the 2 points, and that was Sean Black, the quarterback, on the keeper.
The quarterback shows great mobility as a runner. He doesn't show a whole lot right now as a passer, but he can throw a nice, quick, short pass.
Ryan, when you watch this replay on how Mr. Grudger walked 79 yards in the end zone, describe what went on there.
It looked like a straight dive play, and the backer kind of overran him, and he just popped through, and the secondary was non-existent. The free safety should have got a better reaction to that play. I'm not sure what happened to him on that play, but he should have had a better reaction, because that's a position that you do not want to get in, is a chase position, because if a guy is just as fast as you or faster, if you end up in a trail position on him, you'll never catch him.
79-yard gallop for Dennis Hubbard. Dennis Hubbard was the outstanding back last year, but he was in the shadows of Leon Merritt, but he did contribute big, and right here he just contributes big for the Henry Ford Trojans. 8-0, Henry Ford on top of the Crusaders.
This is 2 good quality football teams. They have a lot of players that are playing major college football right now. So we're seeing 2 of Detroit's finest football programs and 2 of Detroit's finest coaches.
Flags fly as the kick goes out of bounds inside the 40-yard line. Let's see if Detroit King will take the ball right there. And I believe Coach Reynolds has an option either to have Henry Ford kick it over or take it right there at the 40. And I think he's going to take it at the 41-yard line. Yes, he's going to take it at the 40. That's good.
Well, both teams began the game with good field position. We'll see if Martin Luther King can come back against Henry Ford right now.
Ball on the 41. Let's see. And there's your score. Detroit Henry Ford 8 and Detroit King nothing. Very early here in the first quarter of play.
Playing on homecoming day is always tough because the players have a tendency to get overexcited. And there you saw the guard pulling, but the guy did exactly what he's taught. He got in the hip pocket of the guard, and the guard led him to the running back. They're giving Sterling all kind of fits so far in this football game.
Sterling Anderson on the carry and didn't get anything on that carry. Still second down and 10. 6:35 if you're just joining us. It's Detroit Public School League football. The King Crusaders and the Henry Ford Trojans. A rematch of the city championship game of 2 years ago. Here's the pass. The slant pass is no good.
You know, I was sitting here looking at the defensive formation that Henry Ford is in, and they must have a tremendous confidence in number 2, the right cornerback.
Let's take a look at the Henry Ford offense. You got Henderson, Bryant, Morris, the super tailback, the junior Sterling Anderson, Kennedy, and Jalafi.
But he's out here on an island by himself, that right cornerback, and they have no free safety in the middle of the field. So they have to challenge this guy at some point. And that was a lucky play for Henry Ford right there. Well, a lucky play for King that he didn't catch it cleanly because he had plenty of room to turn up after the catch. So that King kind of dodged the bullet right then.
Here's the rest of the King offense. Morris, Alexander, Riley, and McClendon. That's the big offensive line you talked about.
Right, and let's not forget Bobby Pilot, the split end. He's also a former Police Athletic League player and does a tremendous job.
Another good punt by Detroit King. Arnell Carmichael didn't get much trying to run to his left, and he'll be down right at the 21-yard line.
And that's good specialty team coverage by King because he had a little bit of room, but they closed that gap very quickly. And you have to always remember that the specialty teams is 1/3 of the football game.
Mic check two, mic check two, mic check one, check two.
And the specialty teams usually is victorious.
And that's one thing that I always talk about, especially when you look at how important they are, because they do factor in, especially when it goes down to a guy who wears 2 different color pair of shoes and he's kicking it to the upright.
That's true. And they're staying with that formation. He's giving it to the first back through.
A T formation that's been successful for Henry Ford and a lot of other teams who've been successful running the T formation. St. Martin DePores, they run out of the T. Also, Redford Catholic Central. Usually characteristics of a power team.
Absolutely. That's when you have a lot of confidence in your offensive line. You don't want to make mistakes. You have confidence that your backs can carry the football, and it's a 4-yard in a cloud of dust type football. And those are quality programs that you talked about, Catholic Central and DeForest. Those are two quality Catholic League football teams.
Got some equipment problems out on the field as one of the defensive guys for Detroit Kings comes out and they attend to his helmet. I believe that's Jerry Dixon checking out the equipment, the helmet. And here it is
with
again.
That formation, they're trying to hook. What a great job by number 56, but he didn't make the tackle.
Black run out of bounds and into the Martin Luther King bench. And to run that type of offense, you just have to have one outstanding quarterback who can get outside and turn that corner and be versatile enough to maybe stop and throw a pass. You never know.
Right, absolutely. But you have to have a great quarterback, and your tight end has to do a good job of trying to hook that linebacker. And if you really notice closely, the lead back is cheating out an extra yard so he can get in position to hook that backer.
Talk about it right here.
And here he comes right there. If you look closely, number 56 did a great job in penetrating. But the only thing he did wrong was he didn't wrap the guy up and make the tackle. Instead of turning that into a 3-yard loss, he ended up making a few yards out of it.
3rd down and 5 for the Trojan, and there goes Black to the left with an escort service, but that time the Detroit Martin Luther King defense stands up to the test.
Looks like Henry Ford will have to punt the football, and King will get another opportunity. So far, it's been a hard-fought game here in the first quarter.
And there's some of the homecoming fans for Detroit Martin Luther King having a good time here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium. Brings back some great memories when you're watching the band.
Great memories. Kind of looks like Gremlins band a little bit, or Jackson State.
Yeah.
The battle of the band.
4th down and 5, and back deep for the Trojans. A little movement. Maybe that's going to be against Detroit King. Maybe somebody got into the encroachment zone. Let's see what the call is.
No, they called it against Henry Ford. Illegal procedure against Henry Ford. Henry Ford is really trying to protect the ball right now because they don't want to take a chance on getting a punt block. And I probably would go after them to see what they're going to do, because King is definitely physically, they're much stronger than Henry Ford. But Henry Ford and Mike Marshall, they are a very disciplined football team.
Lamar Henderson and Sterling Anderson back deep for Detroit King. A high kick, Anderson lets it bounce right around the 45-yard line, and that's where it will be down.
King should take over with excellent field position. We'll see if they can get their offense on track at this point.
There's your score. Detroit Henry Ford 8, MLK 0, and
3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining here in the first quarter at Lorenzo Wright Stadium.
And here's a look at the scoring summary. That last touchdown for Detroit Henry Ford only took 48 seconds. The 70-yard run and 2 plays.
And that's what King has to stop. They cannot give up the big play and expect to be victorious.
The slant pass, and that time the defensive back for Detroit Henry Ford, that's Karan Harris, slowly getting up after laying the pad on the wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a little
Detroit King.
He's a little groggy at this point. They're going to have to get him out of there for a couple of plays. And number 21 shaking up on the play. He put a nice hit on number 21, and both guys end up getting a little bit shaken up. Let's hope that they're both okay.
Terrence Adams, the guy on the receiving end for Detroit King. And a lot of guys, those hits prevent a lot of guys from going across the middle.
Yes, they absolutely do. I think that's the difference between the men and the boys.
Second down, and here's some pressure by Detroit Henry Ford.
And they looked like they came with a blitz, and they put a lot of pressure on young Bryant, and he went down for a loss. I think if I was Coach Reynolds, I would probably stay with the same formation and the same play that I ran before, simply because they put a new cornerback on the field. Anytime you have a new cornerback, you have to try to exploit that weakness, because that's one of the toughest positions in football, and I know that firsthand.
Ryan, take a look at this. And I know this brings back some memories of your playing days, because you were a cornerback.
Absolutely. He ran a quick slant, but the cornerback had a tremendous reaction to it. Let's just hope the young man is okay, because he has not returned to the football game yet.
There's the slant pass again. That one's short. And King going to the short route on the wide receiver screen, and that time the freshman quarterback Bryant just threw the ball too short.
Yeah, he kind of skipped it to him a little bit that time, but he'll settle back down. He's a class guy, and that's the first time this year that he's had real pressure on him. King runs a flanker pass out of that same formation, though. Lamar throws the ball, and he does a good job throwing the ball. He's also the backup quarterback.
Here's the punt, and this is another nice high punt, and he let it bounce. Hopefully it gets into the end zone, but no. That's going to bounce right around the 3-yard line, so Detroit King gets a break as Arnell Carmichael decided to let it go. Thought it might go into the end zone.
Carmichael probably should have handled that punt and tried to run it back, because he outkicked his coverage, and he should have at least been able to return the ball to the 20-yard line.
8-0 your score if you're just joining us. 1:56 here in the first quarter of play. Detroit King and Detroit Henry Ford. PSL action at your best. Right here on Barden Cable, BC6.
This is an important drive for both teams, because Henry Ford is backed up on the 3-yard line, and King wants to keep them down there, and they're trying to come out of that situation.
The run straight ahead to the running back, Dennis Hubbard, on the carry.
It's a short gain. He may have picked up a tough 2.5 to 3 yards.
Once again, the specialty teams on that punt. Pays to have a good punter, because that was a very nice punt by Dwayne Gwinner. Let it drop right inside the 3-yard line. And Henry Ford with their backs against the wall right now. And once again, the give straight ahead to Dennis Hubbard.
And you're right, it does pay to have a good punter, because that kicking game is crucial. The kicking game can be the difference in a lot of football games. And being here on a grass stadium, the ball just settled right there nicely on the 3-yard line, and Ford is having trouble coming out of that end zone.
I got to tell you, before today's contest started, I had a chance to talk to both coaches, and the key word was inexperience. It shows right now all the penalties so far in the game, only in the first quarter, numerous amount of penalties. Inexperience shows because both teams have a large amount of underclassmen. We'll see. Focus is the key word. Focus.
Walter?
And once again, this one's loose. It looked like he might have been on the ground. Let's see what the call is if they rule it a fumble.
No, he was down, and the rule is the ground cannot cause a fumble. But Henry Ford will be forced to punt the ball because it's fourth down and a long 2 yards.
This quarter continues to tick, and that's going to do it for the end of the first quarter. Your score, the Trojans 8 and the Crusaders 0. This is Barden Cable TV 6, PSL's Game of the Week, King and Ford. No pressure has been put on the punter.
No pressure whatsoever. The defensive front is kind of just standing there mirroring the other guy unless they really have a good return on.
Here's the give to Sterling Anderson. Breaks the tackle. Maybe a pickup of about 4 yards.
And the only reason they brought him down is because Henry Ford had very good pursuit to the football. Ordinarily, in weeks past, other teams didn't pursue, and Sterling was able to break through and get in the secondary. And once he gets in the secondary, he's tough. He hasn't been in the secondary today, but once he gets in the secondary, he's very difficult to bring down in the open field.
He's definitely an exciting little runner to watch. And only a junior, so they got another year of watching Sterling Anderson.
He's also the cousin of Deion Johnson that plays at the University of Michigan, and Damaris Johnson, who plays for the Miami Dolphins. He has an athletic family.
Second down, Bryant with the slap pass in and out of the hands of the receiver, Lamar Anderson, who was going across the middle.
And that's the ball that Lamar should have caught because D, being a young quarterback, he put the ball right on the money and put it right where he should have put it. Those balls have to be caught because he needs that for a confidence builder. That ball was right in his hands. He put it right where he needed to put it. It should have been caught.
Brian, here's a look at the PSL standings from top to bottom. Detroit Cooley, you see Henry Ford, the highlighted team, Redford, McKenzie, Mumford, and Cody.
This is a great conference. Chadsey, Coach Spann, has done a marvelous job with that Chadsey football team. He's been a consistent, very outstanding coach in the Detroit Public Schools for a long time.
Bryant slips down, and maybe a loss of 4 yards. Man.
And under the high school rule, once that knee hits the ground, he is down. If he was playing in the National Football League, he could have got back up and made something happen.
Do you think the Henry Ford defense is trying to put some pressure on the young quarterback?
They're trying to put some pressure on him, and that's the reason that I'm saying the ball that he threw to Lamar should have been caught, and that ball would have been a great confidence builder for him. Right now, his confidence has to be a little bit shaken.
Winner back to punt again. This one hit right around the 25-yard line, and good coverage by the punt team of Detroit Kings.
That was a good play all the way around because the punt was low and on the ground. The young man that ran the punt back, he fielded it and just took the hit right there on that spot as opposed to letting the ball roll back deeper. It was a good football play all the way around on both teams.
Arnell Carmichael on the receiving end of that. This time he didn't let it bounce. He probably got something in the ear on the sideline.
Absolutely, from that last one that landed on the 3-yard line. This time Henry Ford starts on the 19-yard line. We'll see what happens.
Henry Ford's program, never a team of real size. Never had really big linemen, but always had some quality ball players. Here's the give to the first back through, the only back, as Dennis Hubbard winds his way down for about 5 yards.
He picks up a tough line, 5 yards. He did a nice job of covering the ball up. And it's nice to see young men run the football that way because they're taught to make that pocket and protect that ball as long as they're going through the line. He did a very nice job of doing that.
There's a look at the first quarter stats for Henry Ford, 89 yards. That was the big play. 15 yards in total offense for Detroit King, and 14 plays. We're all tied up there. Time of possession is even pretty much.
Time of possession is even. If you take away the one big play, it's been an evenly fought football game. And there's Martin Luther King with that defensive pressure. They had guys coming from every direction. There was a host of Martin Luther King tacklers that sacked the quarterback that time.
Jonathan Rumley on the sack, the first man to the quarterback. Now it's that was a loss of about 4 yards, so 3rd down and 10. There's your score, 8-0 in the second quarter of play here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium. Hubbard on the fake, Black looking deep, throwing into double coverage.
It's intercepted by Lamar, and Lamar has the ability to run this ball back. He may run it all the way.
And finally knocked out of bounds. No flags on the play.
That was not a good call against the defensive set that King was in. If he's going to throw that ball, it has to be over the outside shoulder towards the sideline because both safeties were sitting back deep. That's not a good call against what we call cover 2. When you have 2 deep safeties.
Black threw that one into double coverage. And Walter Tune-Up Neal on the sidelines here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium. Tune-Up, take it away.
I got to tell you, 2 things real quick why the Henry Ford Trojan offense is stuttering. First of all, the offensive line coach was suspended for unknown reasons. Secondly, the offense isn't going anywhere. A left-handed quarterback, Mike Marshall, a former quarterback himself, says this has been the hardest project working with a left-handed quarterback. First time ever in his coaching career. We'll see what happens later on this quarter. Back up to the box.
What a great tackle. That's a textbook tackle by that linebacker coming up and smacking Sterling right there on the spot.
That was Dennis Hubbard doing an excellent job in filling the gap for Detroit Henry Ford.
King is trying to get back to the plays that they've been running consistently throughout the year, but they have to get those linemen, when they're running those trap plays, those linemen are going to have to turn up and find that linebacker.
2nd down and 10, ball on the 14 for the Crusaders. Bryant on the slant. And Henderson couldn't hand on to another one.
Again, that was another nicely thrown ball. That's the difference right there. What makes players good and what makes players great. A great receiver would have to catch that ball. Maybe I had a bad angle on it, but it seemed to me to be a ball that he should catch. I think Mike is kind of challenging King in the middle of the football field because he does not have a free safety in the middle of the field, so he's giving them the quick slant or a short post or a deep in route.
3rd down and 10 for the Crusaders. Anderson in motion way out. Bryant dropping back into the end zone and out of the end zone. That was no good.
Like the fans got a little bit excited because they thought it was going to be a touchdown, but he was actually out of bounds on that play. Again, it's decision time for King and Coach Reynolds because it's 4th down and a long 9 yards.
And Coach Reynolds, I see a player up. No, he wants a timeout. He's undecisive there. Thought about maybe putting the special teams in. Second guessing this.
Absolutely. Did you notice number 11 took his glove off? I'm always a person that I'm conscious of things like that because that tells me that they may have came up with a halfback pass or some kind of razzle-dazzle because the guys don't take their gloves off for no reason.
You're absolutely right. With your score, Henry Ford 8, Martin Luther King 0. This is Detroit Public School League football. It's a timeout, so we're going to take a timeout. Hang on. On 4th down, a swing pass to Sterling Anderson. Defended pretty good by the Henry Ford Trojans.
He had a little bit of room over there, though, because the backer didn't get there right away. That may have been one that Sterling should have just caught, put one move down and exploded straight up the football field. He may have put down an extra move and probably didn't have to. But Henry Ford takes over at this point. So far, it's been a tough offensive day for King thus far.
Detroit King not able to get into the end zone after the big interception by Lamar Henderson that brought him down inside the 20-yard line. They have to turn the ball over with 8:05 on the clock. 1st down and 10 for the Trojans. Dennis Hubbard getting the call and stretching for about 7 yards on the play.
Well, I tell you, the Henry Ford offensive line, they're not big, but they're doing a good job of stabilizing King. King has been dominating people all year, and they may be a little overconfident, but Henry Ford is doing a good job of controlling that area. And we all know that that's the most important area of the football field, the offensive and defensive line.
Henry Ford's offensive line averages only, I would say, less than 200 pounds, but they do a good job because they're nice and quick.
You know, and I'll tell you one thing, that if there's any college scouts listening to this telecast, that they really should look at those kids on that offensive line as athletes, because I was an offensive guard coming out of high school, an all-city offensive guard, and wound up going to college as a cornerback and being a #1 draft pick as a cornerback to the National Football League. So you can't look at those kids as linemen. You have to look at them as athletes, and they're playing where they need to play right now to help that football team.
You're absolutely right. And some of the toughest linemen are the little guys, as Dennis Hubbard picks up 2 yards on the run.
And again, the good thing that Henry Ford is doing is they're controlling the clock. They're running some plays, they're getting a few first downs, and they're controlling the clock. And the clock is, right now, the clock will be their best ally.
Second down and 8 for the Trojans. Lone setback, Dennis Hubbard. Black calls his own number, trying to get outside, but he's stopped by a nice play from the defensive end for Detroit Kings, and that's Curtis Blackwell on the stop.
And Curtis Blackwell, I just realized that his father was a teammate of mine at Northwestern High School. I just realized that this afternoon I ran into his father, and he told me his son was playing for King High School, and his name is also Curtis Blackwell. I tell you, Detroit has had some great high school coaches historically over the years. We have 2 gentlemen at the Detroit School Center building, one being my high school coach, Roy Allen, who's over the health and phys ed department, and another being our own Dr. Sneed, who's our superintendent of the Detroit Public Schools.
Ryan, you're absolutely right, as this slant pass is incomplete from Black, and pass intended for Damon Brown.
If David Brown had been a yard and a half deeper, that may have been a big play, because they had the right call against the right defense. They just didn't execute.
We have Walter Neal on the sidelines, the tune-up man. You know him from JLB. Walter, take it away.
Jeff, and out there at home, as you can tell, not really an offensive showing from either team thus far. So look out for a female wide receiver, number 99, Kenyelle Smith is her name, for the Henry Ford Trojans. I asked her, what can you expect after you graduate, her being a senior? She said, I'm going to college to play football. Look out for number 99, Henry Ford Trojans. Back up to you guys.
That's punt. Thanks a lot, Walter. And he was talking about the young lady, Kenyelle Smith, who's playing football for Detroit Henry Ford.
And she also must be a player, because she went out for the opening coin toss. And I think the players kind of laughed and chuckled a little bit. But we had a young lady that played in the Eastside Raiders program last year. She did a marvelous job. She did an outstanding job playing Little League football.
And, you know, what do you do when you go out and take a coin flip and it's a young lady standing opposite of you, and you look up and you come back to your bench and say, hey, fellas, they have a young lady playing ball over there.
And the bad part about it, she's a cute young lady, so they don't know whether to kiss her hand or shake her hand.
First and 10 for Henry Ford Trojans as they start this series at their 50. Sterling Anderson gets the call, gets up inside pretty good, picks up about 3 or 4 yards on the play, but flags are flying.
And once again, I think the Henry Ford defensive front is doing an excellent job, and the official just wiped that flag off, so there's no flag on the play.
The head official wipes the flag off, so no penalty. So Sterling gets to keep his stats as he picks up 4 yards. And there is Kenyelle Smith, the only female that I know of playing in the Detroit Public School League as we speak. And she catches better than I do. Second down for the Crusaders. And a nice change of direction. And close to the first down is Sterling Anderson.
like it's going to be 3rd and short.
It's so difficult to find Sterling Anderson. That's one of his many attributes. He can hide behind the big offensive lineman of Detroit Kings.
Right,
and by the time someone spots him, it's too late. He's into the defensive backfield.
That's right. When they find him, he's usually gone by people.
3rd down and 2 for the Crusaders. Bryant to quarterback. Sterling Anderson alone, set back to give to Anderson off the left side. Anderson trying to turn the corner, but he has enough for the 1st down.
Cut down, a yard past the 1st down. It's another nice run for Sterling. Seems like he's starting to get on track a little bit.
You know, the same thing that exists on offense for the Trojans, which is the difference in size, also exists on the defense. The quickness of the Trojans, though, makes up for the size.
The quickness definitely makes up for the size, and they're doing a good job at the point of impact in controlling that line of scrimmage. They're hanging in pretty good with this big, strong offensive football team.
3:42 on the clock here in the 2nd quarter as Brian looking to the outside, and that pass incomplete, intended for Henderson.
Looks like we almost had an offensive interference call on that play. Number 12, the cornerback, had really good position on Lamar Anderson.
And as Anderson talks to Coach Reynolds on the sideline about that last play, as he sends in Richard Davis.
Oh, yeah, you got a different. This is all different up there. Is that the Neil Jefferson number here?
2nd down and 10 for the Crusaders. Here's the give to Anderson, and nothing on that play. Actually, a couple yards lost.
You know, he did a nice job because he was left alone, and anytime a football player is left alone on that defensive line, he's taught to look inside because they're running a trap play. There's a handsome young man at the game.
Yeah, a nice little couple there. Dad taking out his son to the game. You know, I've been meaning to ask you this, Ryan. I wanted to ask you this the last time you were with us. Pro sports and what's happening to pro sports nowadays. Your comment after this play, okay? 2:55 on the clock. 3rd down. As Bryant falling backwards just threw that one up.
That way he did a good job of throwing that ball away because it would have been a big loss on that play. But on the other hand, he just threw it up in the air. It could have been intercepted. But the closest guy to the ball was a King High School football player. They're going to have to give him a little bit more time. He's getting a lot of pressure on the outside.
There's your score. Henry Ford 8 and King 0. And back deep for Detroit Henry Ford is Arnell Carmichael. And kicking it is Gwinner, and Carmichael gets it inside the 20, drops the ball, and tries to turn the corner.
Yeah,
Not successful.
He almost made a mistake because he dropped and mishandled that punt, and King had great coverage on it. So once again, Henry Ford takes over, and King has not had a whole lot of offensive production to this point. But one of the things that's happening in professional sports, I think that players are, and maybe it doesn't seem fair to the average person, but players are more astute to revenue sharing. They're more astute to the cable TV contract and the television contract. There's a lot of money involved in sports. Sports is big business, and the players seem like they want their piece of the pie and maybe somebody else's piece of that pie. Well, that's one of the problems in pro sports right now.
And there's Dennis Hubbard getting into the secondary again, picking up about 15 on the play.
Henry Ford is doing a good job of controlling the offensive line. King is going to have to do something about that play. They're going to have to get more defensive surge from the big people up front because he's popping straight up the middle of the football field and busting through and getting in the secondary.
Approaching the 2-minute mark here in the 2nd quarter of play. 1st and 10. Ball on the 31-yard line. The give to Dennis Hubbard. Breaks a couple tackles into the secondary. He may go all the way. Henderson, the only man to beat. Touchdown, Henry Ford, no flags.
There are no flags on the play, and this crowd here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium has to be stunned because this has not happened to Martin Luther King all season long. And here we are at homecoming it may be a sad homecoming if this continues this way.
That was a 50-some-odd yard run.
Dennis Hubbard.
Dennis Hubbard with another big run.
Dennis Hubbard, 5 feet 10 inches tall, 175 pounds. He has good speed to be a big guy. Well, he's not really that big of a guy, but he has good speed.
Very good speed and great breakaway speed, especially if any of the recruiters are watching now. When he got into the secondary, couldn't nobody catch him.
Well, one of the problems, I think the free safety has to read that play a little bit quicker and not get into that trail position, because you don't want to turn a football game into a track meet. You want to keep those people in front of you all the time.
Dennis Hubbard's last run was 79 yards. This one was 69 yards and a touchdown. As you take a look at some of the coaches on the King sideline, as they pace the sideline, probably wondering what's happening.
I'm sure they're wondering what's happening. They're probably trying to figure out how he keeps busting through that opening in the middle untouched, virtually untouched. And again, I think that they haven't, this has not happened to King all season long. I don't think they've been scored on all year.
They're 5-0 coming into this game. Detroit Henry Ford is 3-2. But the records don't mean anything. Throw away the records. It's time to play ball.
The records don't mean anything at this point.
As Black gets it to the end zone.
Now, I tell you what, that was all heart. That was all the quarterback. King had 2 missed tackles. He was determined. The determination in that young man to get to the end zone, that was all the quarterback. He did that with no help whatsoever.
And the coaches of Detroit Henry Ford over to congratulate Sean Black as he gets into the end zone for the extra point. The junior, 170 pounds for Mike Marshall's quarterback. Sean Black on the 2-point conversion. 16-0 your score.
Yeah, they have. We on break. They have him listed at 5'10", 170 pounds, but I think they kind of stretched that a little bit.
And here's the scoring summary of that last Henry Ford drive. Only 38 seconds, 86 yards and 2 plays. In the last scoring drive, it only took him 2 plays to score.
And as I said at the outset, that King would have to stop the big play, and Henry Ford would have to make the big play to win the football game. And so far, Henry Ford has made the big play, and they have virtually shut down the Martin Luther King offense.
2 minutes left here before halftime, and the Trojans strike. I did say it was a 69-yard run, but it was a 59-yard run, pardon me, by Mr. Dennis Hubbard, as Henry Ford gets set to kick the ball off to the King Crusaders. Back deep is Henderson, and also number 22 for the Crusaders, Paris Morris. As Henderson gets it, runs away from the wall and into a bevy of Trojans.
Yeah, he probably should have stayed behind that wall a little bit longer and tried to pop through and maybe get a big play out of it. In football, we're taught to run north and south as opposed to running east and west. And at that point, once he started heading west, that was it. But they do have good field position. They're beyond the 30-yard line. They're about the 31. So, again, they have good field position. We'll see what they can do on this series.
Well, Ron, that's one thing that the Crusaders can't complain about, and that's field position, because they've had excellent opportunities and excellent field position this entire game.
They've had great field position the entire football game and hasn't been able to take advantage of it. Now Henry Ford is playing a more traditional defense. They have a deep safety in the middle of the field.
Let's see who jumped first. The tight end for Detroit King, that was Teron Riley. But let's see who it's
dead ball, encouragement, defense, first down.
I think King got a break that time, and they called encroachment on Henry Ford. But under the new rule, he did cross the plane first. Under the old rule, he could have crossed that plane and jumped back.
So Henry Ford gets 5 walked off against them. First down, and give to the first back through, and that's Paris Morris.
Number 22, Paris Morris. He's also a track man, tough, durable kid. He's also another one of those small spark plug type guys, short, stocky guys.
Their backs remind me of the New York Giants running back Meggett.
Oh yeah, Dave Meggett. He's something special, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He can do it all. He's also a good specialty teams player. Returns kicks, throws the halfback pass, has great hands and great concentration. Meggett is really something special. And if you compare those two running backs to Meggett, they must be something very special.
2nd and 3 for the Crusaders. Under 1 minute here before halftime to give to Sterling Anderson. He spins, but a good tackle. Fumble on the play. Let's see who recovers it. Looks like Henry Ford has recovered it. But the Crusaders have come up with the ball with 24 seconds left here in the first half of play. And it's not the size of your body or your arms. It's only the size of your heart when you're talking about football.
And I firmly agree with that. I think it is the size of your heart. And right now it seems that Henry Ford wants the game a little bit more than the King guys want this football game.
This will be the final play of the first quarter. And Morris is run out of bounds, and that's play ends the first half of play. Your score, Detroit Kings 0. That's right, Detroit Kings 0, Henry Ford 16. We'll be right back with some halftime stats and some thoughts. Let's go to break. We're going to throw it down to Walter. Tune-up Neal. He's on the sidelines with one of the King coaches.
Before going to the halftime, we're going to talk to assistant coach Shepard. Coach Shepard, with a 5-0 record, obviously this is something that you're not used to, huh?
Well, anything is predictable or unpredictable in football, to whereas you expect anything that can happen. So right now we're in the dog fight, and we expect to come back after halftime with a little better effort. So we didn't expect anything less from Henry Ford.
Coach, with a record of 3-2, Henry Ford throwing some different things at you. A lot of penalties right now, Coach, and no offensive movement until maybe a small spurt right before the end of the second quarter. Why? What happened to the offense?
Well, when you're dealing with a ninth grade quarterback who's playing varsity football for the first time, you're going to be sporadic. But hopefully that we can come back after halftime with the adjustments needed and do what we have to do.
Good luck, Coach. Second half.
All right, thanks.
Back up to you guys in the booth.
Thanks a lot, Tune-Up. And Ron, he said the ninth grade quarterback, you know, is probably not the problem, but you have a young quarterback, problems happen like that.
Well, when you have a young quarterback, you have to really take special care of him. You got to protect him, and when he makes it a good throw, you got to come up with the catch. And you got to help him out, and he just hasn't had any help at all today.
Okay, that's going to do it for the first half of play. There's your score. The Trojans 16 and the Crusaders 0.
Nothing going into the third quarter. This has got to be the way you couldn't have planned it any better than that, huh?
Yeah, well, our mental preparation was very good this week. Plus, I think it was focused. And I think they kind of running into the same thing we kind of ran into last week, you know, the homecoming and all the other distractions that be going on. And when you have that homecoming and all that type of stuff, you know, your team kind of let down because they're concentrating on a lot of other things besides football, like the homecoming dance and all that type of stuff. We bit the bullet last week because of that, and I think this first half they done ran into the same thing. I just hope that they don't wake up in the second half.
Coach, you told me earlier about the offensive coach being suspended for maybe a game or two, but yet and still the offensive is doing pretty good. What attributes to that?
Well, last week he got suspended during the middle of the season. Middle of the week, so we didn't get a chance to make that adjustment with a new offensive line coach. But this week we had time to prepare for it with the new offensive line coach, so I think that's the situation right now.
Okay, Coach, your record is actually better than 3-2. You see, you lost a couple of easy games because of the team is inexperienced and they lost focus. What will it take to win the game today?
Staying focused. We're young. We still make a lot of mental mistakes. If we don't give up the big plays and and stay focused, and we're a West Side football team. All teams on the West Side come to play and they can hit. So I think they're running into something that they haven't seen all year, where you know, we swarm to the football, and I don't think a lot of teams on the east side do that, but all the teams on the west side do, you know, they do it. They swarm to the football and tackle pretty good.
Coach Marshall, good luck in the second half.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And his defense has done a tremendous job of doing that. And here they are set for the opening second half kickoff, and King will receive the ball. It's a pretty good kickoff. It's coming down inside the 10, taking it about the 7. It's a pretty good return. He gets stopped right around the 31-yard line. And this is the same point that King started in the first half. So it seems like a repeat of the first half almost.
On the return for the Crusaders was Henderson, and a pretty good return. And once again, as in the first half, Detroit King having good field position.
Yes, Detroit King has good field position. They have had good field position all football game. But we'll see what happens here in the second half. Henry Ford is staying with having a weak safety in the middle of the field now, because early in the game they had nobody deep in the middle of the football field. King comes out with twin receivers to the left. Actually, it's a trips formation left and one setback.
And right before we went into halftime, one of the coaches from Detroit King talked about the freshman quarterback. This time to give to the junior tailback, and
Sterling Anderson goes up the middle. He picks up about 3 yards, but there was a nice tackle by number 5 from Henry Ford, and he's the same young man that picked up 179 yards in the first half.
And when you talk about stats, Ron, here are the totals right here for the first half. 186 yards in total offense for Henry Ford, 68 for King, 25 plays to 32 plays. Time of possession, not too much of a difference there, but the big thing, Henry Ford scores 2 long touchdowns by Hubbard, one of 79 and one of 58.
And that's been the biggest problem. Hubbard has popped through for 179 yards in offense. Henry Ford only has 186 yards.
That's all foul.
And Hubbard has 179 yards,
5 yards on the offense.
of those yards. So guess what they need to do? They need to stop Mr. Hubbard.
Dead ball foul against the offense, so they walk off 5 yards against Detroit King.
And that's one of the problems in football. Mistakes will kill you. So instead of having a second down and 7 yards, now they have second and 12.
In that first half, Dennis Hubbard rumbled for 176 yards of total offense. Second down and 12 for the Crusaders. And another wide receiver screen. Get on the ball. Yes, it does. Henderson covers up. But that pass was deflected, so it will be an incomplete pass.
And actually, that was a shame that King didn't complete that pass, because they had the play set up very nicely. That would have been a halfback pass. It would have been a lateral to Henderson, and he would have thrown the ball upfield to number 11. If you watch the play closer, you can see him set that up. And he caught Henry Ford off guard with that play.
3rd and 12 for the Crusaders.
The biggest problem with plays like that is you can only run it a few times in a football game, and when you miss on it, it takes something away from your offense. Again, Bryant is under a lot of pressure.
But he gets it outside, and close to a first down is Paris Morse.
And Bryant got hammered back deep. He's getting up a little bit slow, but he made a nice throw as he eluded a tackler, and he came upfield, and it's about 4th and 4. So it's decision time for Coach Reynolds. I would imagine he's going to kick that football out of there.
And here comes the special team for Detroit King. Earlier in the first half, Detroit King decided to go for a 4th down play and was not successful. This time, Dwayne Gwinner back in punt formation. Here's the kick, a low one, a good one for Baxdale to possibly run back, but breaks through some of the King defenders and picks up an additional 5 yards.
And he did a nice job on the return as he split 2 defenders and went straight up the football field. The thing that he did that was nice was he went north and south as opposed to east and west. It was a very low kick, and that could have been a costly play for King High School, so they did end up with good punt coverage on that.
So the Trojans take over at around the 29-yard line, their own 29-yard line. And like we said, Dennis Hubbard was the man in the first half for the Trojans. He had 11 carries for 176 yards.
You know, at halftime, my father came up to the booth, Mr. J.C. Johnson, and he told me that Lamar's going to have to do a better job of supporting that run. He's the free safety, and when he recognizes run, he's going to have to support and come up and get those linebackers some help. He recognized that he got into a foot race with that tailback a couple of times, and that's not what you want to do in a football game.
No gain on that particular play by the back, Black, Sean Black. And there's the scoring summary from the first half. 48 seconds ticked off the clock. 80 yards in 2 plays and a 79-yard run by Hubbard. That happened in the first half. And here's the second score. 38 seconds was ticked off the clock. 86 yards in 2 plays and a 58-yard run by Hubbard. Hubbard gets the call off the right side this time and a pickup of about a yard on the play.
And they popped Hubbard pretty good on that particular run. I think at halftime, Coach Reynolds must have told his troops that we have to stop Hubbard. If you take away those 2 big plays from the first half, we have a pretty even ball game. Neither team has had very much offensive production except for those 2 big plays. The time of possession has been virtually even, and the number of plays is almost even. The difference in the ball game is the 2 big plays.
Long back in the backfield is Dennis Hubbard. Here's the fake to Hubbard, looking up the sidelines, and he's open in and out of the hands. In and out of the hands of Anthony Baxdale.
And that could have been and should have been a big play. The quarterback, he put the ball up on the money. Where the only place he could throw it is over the left shoulder in the perfect position. He had the linebacker beat, and he missed the football.
Take a look at it right here, Ryan.
It's a play-action pass. He fades back. He lets it go. He's got him beat by 1.5 yards. Perfect pass. Hit him in the only place he could hit him, right there in the hand.
And the play before that, the defensive back, number 11, Jamil Jefferson, went out the game with maybe an ankle injury. This is a low line drive punt.
Another line drive punt.
Anderson spinning and stopped right at the 42-yard line, the Kings' 42-yard line, by a good open field tackle and good coverage on the kick team by Moses Jordan, excuse me.
Well, once again, King takes over with good field position. They have very good field position this time. They're on about the 43-yard line, and we'll see what happens this series. They're coming back this time in an I backfield. Tight ends left, I back.
The give to the first back through. And, man, what a nice little run by Morris, dragging a couple of the Henry Ford defenders.
Very nice run by Morris. He has very strong legs. He did that all on his own. He broke 1 tackle and drug 1 guy about 3 yards. So they're looking at 2nd down and about 6. So this has been that's a win. That's considered a win on first down. Anytime you get 4 yards on first down, that's considered a win on first down.
There's a future cheerleader for one of these 2 schools, possibly.
That's a gorgeous-looking young lady.
Here's the play to Sterling Anderson. Anderson, maybe a gain of about 2 yards on the play.
That's another misdirection play, kind of like a counter tray with the guard trapping. But, again, Henry Ford is doing a good job of closing those lanes. They're doing a good job of filling those lanes and getting into that good position to make those plays.
3rd down and 6 as you take a look at the freshman quarterback, Bryant.
He hasn't had a whole lot of success today, but he has not had a whole lot of time. He's normally unmolested in these football games, but today he's had a tough time. He's got Sterling out here in the slot. Let's see if he tries to go to him. Got a receiver moving and got away with it.
Going to Henderson up top. This one's thrown out of bounds.
Looks like Henderson had a step on the cornerback. That's probably why Henderson was a little bit shaky out here, because the ball was going to him. Bryant threw a nice pass, but he put it a little bit too much on the outside.
That brings 4th down and 4. 4th down and 4 for the Crusaders of Detroit King, and Dwayne Gwinner back in punt formation, back deep for the Trojans is Arnell Carmichael.
And that's one of the problems that Martin Luther King has experienced today is those 3 plays and out. That means that the defense is going to be tired.
Carmichael, a dangerous opportunity, but he takes advantage of it. Pretty dangerous right there, picking that ball up on the run.
Absolutely, and this is one of the best field positions that Henry Ford has had all day. It was not that good of a punt, but he fielded it on a dead run and picked up another 7 yards. So Henry Ford has the ball in excellent field position. They're right on about the 38-yard line. So the game is right now is being played between the 30 and the 30.
Trojans.
Now the Trojans are coming out with the 1-back set and 2 tight ends and 2 split receivers. So this is normally a power running offense.
Dennis Hubbard gets the call, and he gets about 2 yards on the carry.
I think at this point Henry Ford is trying to possess the football and eat the clock up. And if they are allowed to possess the football, they may be able to put Martin Luther King away.
And that's definitely to the advantage of the Trojans, being that they're smaller and a little quicker, and they might not run out of gas as quick as the bigger and stronger King team would.
And they're staying with that same formation, 2 tight ends, no backs in the backfield, backs in motion, and they run a quarterback sneak. Pretty gutsy call by Mike Marshall.
But once again, that eats up the time on the clock as you keep it on the ground, and it's 5:20 on the clock.
Looks like a 3rd and 6.
Ron, do you watch potpourri?
No, not really.
Ron.
Of course I watch potpourri. I'm just joking.
Okay, potpourri with Charlene Mitchell every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and replayed Fridays at 9 p.m. and Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. only on Barden Cablevision TV6.
How could anybody not watch potpourri with Charlene Mitchell as gorgeous as she is? Everybody watches potpourri.
3rd down and 6 for the Trojans. Hubbard in motion, and Sean Black sprints to the sideline.
Yeah, and that's a quarterback keeper all the way, and King did a nice job of pursuing. Now it's 4th down for Henry Ford High School. And again, we're going 3 plays and out on both teams. It's turning into a defensive struggle at this point.
4:27 on the clock as the clock continues to tick, not in the favor of the Crusaders. 4th down. Back deep for the Crusaders. Sterling Anderson.
And it looks like King is staying with that same punt return formation and not putting any pressure on this young man. And they still almost blocked it with no pressure. And so imagine what would happen if they would rush this guy.
This one bounces around and stops right at the 30-yard line of Detroit King.
That's a good decision by Sterling to let that ball just fall dead. And once again, this game is being played between the 30 and the 30. This has turned into a real defensive struggle that I don't think anybody anticipated coming into this football game today.
So what must Detroit King do at this point?
At this point in the football game, King needs to put together a drive or a big play. They need to get down here and get into the end zone, or they're going to lose more and more confidence as this game progresses.
Bryant back to pass, looking across the middle. Henderson catches this one.
And he drills Henderson with a bullet. And I guess he didn't have any choice but to catch it because he just drilled it right in there on the numbers. Well, very nice pass, nice football play.
Henderson had 2 opportunities in the first half to catch identical passes, but dropped 2. But this time, he held on to this one.
And that's the first down that King has had in this half. So maybe we have something going here. Maybe King has something going. They're coming out with twin receivers out here to the near side of the football field. And they have eye back. And again, there's a mistake. Looks like the right guard jumped off sides, and I guess that's the tragic part about being an offensive lineman is normally your name is not called unless you're holding or offside.
But the offensive guard, I believe that's Zachary Kennedy. And there's another look at it as he just jumped off sides and forgot what ball to forgot what count the ball was being snapped
I
on.
tell you, it was probably a running play from the movement of the offensive guard. When the guard fires off, 90% of the time it's a running play. If he sets up, it's usually a passing play. And there it is, it's the same play.
Morris with the call. Good block that time to Spring Morris.
Okay, that's a confidence builder right there. He very nice block, and he broke a tackle, made another nice run. He ended up with another first down. So at this point, Martin Luther King is marching down the football field. And here's the replay. Give it to the first back through. Missed tackle right there. He's running up the field, very strong. Drops his shoulder, another missed tackle. And he runs through another tackle. This kid has some skills. And now here comes Sterling right back at him.
Sterling Anderson on the carry. And on that last play by Morris, what a block by Terrence Adams, number 21, who made an excellent downfield block as we take a look at a sore ankle of running back Sterling Anderson. And that's going to be a tragic blow to the Crusaders.
Sterling came up limping a little bit on that last play. Let's just hope it's nothing serious. Now King is actually in an unbalanced line right.
Give to Morris, spins out of it. Paris Morris with a nifty little spin there and picks up an additional 5 yards after apparently everyone on the defensive unit thought he was stopped.
Absolutely, that's determination. The young man just refused to go down. King came out in a different formation, an unbalanced line right. I don't even know if Henry Ford picked up on it right away. But again, that's another first down, and that's what King needs to do to establish the running game and move the football down the field. And again, they're in an unbalanced line right, so it's actually a trip right.
Here's the give to Sterling Anderson's backup, number 28, and that's Kenyatta Wilson on the carry.
Kenyatta made a nice run. He made a real nice run. He's running a little bit erect, though. He's running a little bit straight up and down. He needs to bend down just a little bit and drop his shoulder on people.
There's your score. Henry Ford 16, MAOK 0 with 1:44 here in the third quarter. And with this timeout, we'll take a timeout. More PSL action coming your way. 44, Walter Tune-Up Neal is on the sideline. Walt, take it away.
We're talking with Marvin, a King High alumni. Obviously, Marvin, the team does very well when playing on the road, but when it comes to playing at home, what's wrong, you think?
I think the crowd. They see all the crowd in the stands. Just like you just threw an interception right there. You can't play under pressure, man. They got a crowd behind them, but when they get on the road, they play pretty good. They should have played an away game with Henry Ford. We've been doing something by then.
Let's over here. We got a Henry Ford alumni. Your team is doing very well. Why do you think they've come here playing a team with the undefeated record? They've come in 3-2, but they're playing exceptionally well. Why do you think that is?
They just good. Hey, Henry Ford always, that's my team.
You heard it from a Henry Ford alumni and a Martin Luther King alumni, Crusaders and the Trojans. Back up to you guys at the booth.
Thanks a lot, Walter. While you were talking to the alums, the King Crusaders committed a big turnover, an interception, as Dennis Hubbard doing it on the offensive side and the defensive side of the field. And Hubbard on the carry again.
I guess if we had to select an early player of the game, it would have to be Mr. Hubbard. This young man is doing it on both sides of the football. He comes up with an outstanding interception, and he's also had the 2 long runs.
Well, Ron, here's the interception right here. Bryant dropping back in the pocket. Good enough time, but just throws this one into an area where
He threw into an area where there were 3 Trojans, and he only had 1 guy, so the percentages just were not there. I'm a little bit surprised that King went to the air because they had a nice running possession going. They were running the ball off Henry Ford's throat, and I think that they may have been better off continuing to do that.
Black keeps it, turns the corner, and has a little room and picks up a first down.
And there's a late hit on King. That's going to be a costly mistake because they'll mark off another 15 yards.
So after the Trojans pick up the first down with the quarter coming to an end, 42 seconds on the clock, and the official says it's unsportsmanlike conduct against the Trojans, against the Crusaders.
And here we are at Lorenzo Wright Stadium for homecoming. It looks like they'll be playing a lot of slow music
Personal
tonight.
foul on the defense, hitting him out of bounds, first down.
Personal foul against the defense. Walked off a big 15, and that's one of the things that Coach Marshall commented on with it being homecoming. And he was questioning the focus of the King Crusaders. And, you know, they're young, they're kids. They're thinking about homecoming dance. Right now, Hubbard trying to do a dance, and he's doing a dance on the Crusader defense. Right down inside to 5.
There's this young man, Hubbard. Where has this young man, Hubbard, been all season? He looks like all world. He looks like Barry Sanders and the rest of the Lion team all rolled into one man today. He's putting on a tremendous show here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium. Maybe he likes homecoming.
He likes King's homecoming, huh? As he goes out and takes a breather. Inside the 5-yard line, Henry Ford gives the ball to the first back through and stopped right at the line as Henderson makes the tackle.
And that's number 2.
Crusaders.
Number 2 for Henry Ford. He's also the young man who plays on that cornerback position, has done an outstanding job all day. So that tells you something about the Henry Ford personnel. They have good, versatile athletes, and that's the reason that I comment that college scouts should look at these kids as athletes and that they will find a position to play once they get to college and not look at them as linemen or at any particular position.
Well, that's going to do it for the end of the third quarter. The Henry Ford Trojans are threatening the score, but there's your score right now. The Trojans 16 and the Crusaders 0. And hey, the Trojans are having a party. Homecoming day here at Lorenzo Wright Stadium for the King Crusaders. Not a good one. Entire third quarter as the Trojans can't stick it into the end zone.
There's only one passing play in the entire third quarter. And I'm a little surprised that Hubbard didn't come back in the game yet unless he got banged up or something on that last play, or unless he's just completely out of gas, because they still have him on the sideline, and at this point in the game, he's been the hot back, and I think he should be in the football game. I think that was a big mistake that the Dallas Cowboys made in Super Bowl 13. They took Tony Dorsett out, and we couldn't stop him.
3rd and goal for the Trojans as Sean Black is stopped in the backfield once again as the King defense stands up to the test.
The King defense stiffened, and now it's 4th down.
Jerry Dixon on the stop for the Crusaders. They started this, Hubbard took them down inside the 5-yard line, and when Hubbard went out, the offense went in reverse.
Absolutely. When Hubbard went out the football game, they started going backwards. But he's still on the sideline, or is that him at the lead back?
Black going to the air, wide open.
Wide open, he missed him. Just off target, he was wide open though. I tell you, Henry Ford has made the right calls today against what King is giving them. They just need to execute a little bit better.
Kenneth Johnson, the intended receiver, and as you take a look at him, was right off his fingertip. That play was wide open for the Trojans, but they missed the opportunity to score there.
Here's the replay, a play-action pass, a quick toss, wide open receiver, and he missed him. If they would have scored right there, they may have turned out the lights on King's homecoming.
The play action froze the defensive back and the linebackers, and the tight end just slipped through into the secondary, but coming up empty. Crusaders with the give to Anderson.
Anderson came back into the game after that ankle injury, and he took his tape off his ankle, so maybe he's feeling a little bit better at this point. Hopefully he's nothing serious.
There's a man you know pretty well, Jim Reynolds of Detroit King.
Absolutely. Coach Reynolds is a very fine educator, and he's a very fine football coach. He's done a tremendous job with this Martin Luther King football program year after year. He does a good job with this Martin Luther King football program. The kids really love him, and they want to come to King to be football players. I can remember a few years ago, King won a championship when he had 22 players, and at that time it was Coach Greer who coached at Eastern Michigan University later and the New England Patriots.
This pass across the middle, and it was almost intercepted by Dennis Hubbard.
Dennis Hubbard had his hands on the ball again. Another pass almost intercepted. I think at this point, the best friend that Henry Ford has would be the clock because they're into the fourth quarter.
3rd down and 7 for the Crusaders. And there's some stats from the 3rd quarter. The total is 229 yards for the Trojans, 113 for MLK, 37 plays to 46 plays. Time of possession, this time dominated by King.
And King needs 2 touchdowns and 2 extra points. And that's the big thing, is that Henry Ford converted both of their extra points. And I believe we're looking at 4th down and long, and King is going to have to kick it out of there.
So they lost a couple yards on the play, and it's 4th down and 10 as Dwayne Gwinner back in punt formation. He's getting a lot of practice on punting, I tell you right now.
Yeah, he's had a good day punting the football, and it's blocked. It's blocked. Again, we talk about the kicking game being 1/3 of a football game. Number 8 picks it up. And then there's a personal foul on the play. Let's see who it's on.
That time, I think the Trojan defense kind of lured the Crusaders to sleep after not really applying any pressure the previous times that Gwinner was back to punt. Here is the personal foul call right here against the Trojans, as you saw a player come in kind of late there and make a hit. But no pressure being applied to the punters, but on this particular play, it seemed like the Trojans
Unreturned.
well, the personal foul.
Hard, they blocked the punt. And just like you're saying, I think they did. They lulled King to sleep. King went to sleep on their punt protection, and that's a big play. But they dodged the bullet. King dodged the bullet because of that penalty. The ball is moved back to the 35-yard line.
9:02 on the clock and ticking. The Trojans on the 35-yard line of the Crusaders. 2 receivers wide to the left. And Sean Black wants a timeout, doesn't like what he sees there. Wise decision by the
Places.
And let's talk about this issue again. You played high school ball. How does homecoming affect kids when they have to play a game like that? Does it disturb their focus?
Sometimes it can be a distraction, and believe me, nobody wants to lose their homecoming and go to the homecoming dance and really try to have a good time, because it's for me, it was never the same feeling to lose a homecoming game. Homecoming is always a special event, but they drew a tough team to play on homecoming. They drew a very disciplined football team to play on homecoming. Maybe if they would have had some teams to challenge them earlier in the season, but they kind of just rolled over and walked over the opponents that they've had thus far. In fact, this is the first game that I think Sterling has played any more than 2 quarters.
You're absolutely right. Now, if you watch City Highlights, I know you watch City Highlights, Ryan, on Barden Cable TV 6. Live call-in program hosted by Kathy Young-Welch on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and replayed Fridays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 a.m. That's City Highlights on Barden Cable BC6.
And Kathy does an outstanding job with that program.
And this time to give to Dennis Hubbard, straight up the middle.
And once again, at this point, Henry Ford is trying to take as much time off the clock as they possibly can, because if the clock continues to tick, they can put Martin Luther King away, and that's what they're concentrating on.
And to do that, as you can see, the quarterback, Sean Black, going all the way over to the sideline to get the play and running it back in. Precious time being ticked off the clock.
They come out in a formation with 2 tight ends, and Hubbard is the lone setback. And Hubbard on the carry, he breaks a tackle, and that may be a problem. And there's the referee held off on throwing that flag, but King had a cornerback at the top of the screen, almost in a fist fight. I think they're starting to show a little frustration.
Ryan got Walter tune-up Neal on the sidelines. Ron, hey, here's Walter. Walter, take it away.
Well, I got to tell you, besides the cheerleaders and the pom-pom girls, not really much for this East Side crowd to cheer for this afternoon. King looks like they're on the verge of losing their first game of the season. We'll find out in a few moments. Back up to you guys up in the booth.
Thank you, Walter. It's still a lot of time on the clock as it continues to tick. 49 as we have it right now. Looks like the Crusaders are facing their first loss, but you never know what might happen.
They stand with that formation, 2 tight ends, Hubbard up the middle. Those are the high percentage plays for Henry Ford at this point. Take time off the clock, try to get the first down, and Hubbard is a sure-handed back. He's a very special young man. He's having an outstanding day.
Hubbard picked up 2 yards on the play. 2nd down and 8.
I think Coach Marshall's trying to keep him a little bit fresh because he makes that substitution again. Number 2 is going to be the lone setback.
That's Karan Harris into the game now.
Okay, they're coming out in a different formation. They have Tripp right.
Too much time that time. Too much time taken up.
Against Trojans, it will be
Delay a game against Henry Ford, but I don't think Henry Ford is very alarmed by that because, again, the clock is the best friend that they have right now. They're trying to let that clock tick down.
And all Detroit King can do is watch, and they'll get the opportunity to get the ball back, but it's going to be a little time on the clock as Harris gets up in there and then fumbles the ball. And Detroit King recovers.
I tell you, if I was the coach at this point, I would go to the young man Hubbard. He's been the workhorse all day, and I would just tell Hubbard, the game is on the line, and right now you have to go. I have to have it.
Curtis Blackwell comes up with the fumble for Detroit King.
That's truly a big play for Detroit King. But at this point, if Hubbard is not hurt and he's been the workhorse, he would just have to get a good night's rest tonight because I would have to let him carry the football probably almost every play for the remainder of the game.
6:37 on the clock, and the Crusaders get another opportunity. Going to the slant, and that one's incomplete. Pass intended for Terrence Adams. As that pass has been there all afternoon, and Detroit King has went to it several times, but have not had the great success from it.
It was a well-thrown ball. It was a quick slant. I think that's when the difference between good receivers and great receivers is they're able to go inside and concentrate and catch that football. I had a couple of teammates, John Starworth and Lynn Swan. They love to go inside and catch the ball and try to run the safeties over.
Those guys are legends in the game. 2nd and 10 for the Crusaders. Bryant, that one hit the back of a lineman coming out to do his assignment, but the pass was intended for Henderson.
And there's a flag on the play.
we have a flag on the play.
Hit right in the back of number 76, the big offensive lineman for Detroit King. As you see it, and here it is again. Ryan, comment on what happened here.
Well, Brian takes the snap.
Dennis, illegal procedure in the offense. 6-minute line of scrimmage.
Trying to go to Lamar Anderson and hit the big lineman right in the back, and I'm trying to figure out on a pass play what the big fella's doing over there anyway.
That was Kelly McClendon at the ball hitting the back, but it was a penalty because the Henry Ford let me get this right.
Martin Luther King
had too many men on the line of scrimmage.
And King got a break because the lineman was actually downfield on that pass play.
Anderson getting into passing now, and that's the first pass in his direction, and he catches it.
And I believe that's the first completion of the second half of Bryant. Pass caught by Sterling, and Sterling tried to bob and weave and shake and bake, but Henry Ford has been all over him today. Now it's 4th down and long. At this point, Henry Ford has 10 men up towards the line of scrimmage. May have been a good time for a fake punt.
Carmichael back deep, gets to the inside of his 25-yard line, and sprints to the sideline, is knocked out of bounds.
And that's great field position once again for Henry Ford. They're back to the 40-yard line, and the game, and I'm not sure, but I don't think Martin Luther King has crossed the 50-yard line in the second half.
You're absolutely right. Not yet. They haven't crossed the 50-yard line. And there's penalties per team. 6 for 40 yards for MLK and 4 for 20 yards for Detroit Henry Ford. And that's an interesting graphic also when you talk about the team making the least amount of mistakes, as Detroit Henry Ford has kind of flipped the script on Detroit King, because right now Henry Ford looking like the 5-0 team and MLK looking like the 3-2 team.
And King has a player down on the far side of the football field. I was wondering why the coaches were all walking across the football field. First I thought it was a timeout, but it looks like there's a player down on the far side of the field. Maybe we can go to the tune-up man and find out his number.
Well, it's 5:46 on the clock, and 1st and 10 for the Trojans. And with the injury on the field, the player's up. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Jefferson was the injured player. He gets up and comes off the field. He's okay.
As Henry Ford staying with the same formation that they've been using all season long. It's like a tight T, 3-back spread straight across the football field. Number 4, the quarterback likes to keep the ball out of that formation and try to run sweeps around the end. Let's see if he tries to do that on the next series.
That time, Dennis Hubbard, the ball carrier, ran into a brick wall, and that was the King Crusader defense. But there's a Ford player injured on the play, and they're going to get out the ambulance.
They call the ambulance. The Ford player is, I think he's okay because he's moving his feet. That's always a good sign, but he's not moving very much. He's kind of staying very, very still. Let's just hope and pray that this young man is not seriously injured.
We're going to send it down to Walter Tune-Up Neal on the sideline. Walter, take it away.
Even though the record indicates that King may lose this game, Jamil Jefferson just went out with an injured calf muscle. He strained that muscle. He said he'll be back in the game. That's Jamil Jefferson, number 11 for the King Crusaders. He'll be back in action before the game is over with. Back up to you guys to the booth.
Thank you, Walter, as they attend to the injured player from Detroit, Henry Ford, with this break in the action. It's 5:32 here in the fourth quarter. It's Henry Ford 16 and the Crusaders 0. For Henry Ford 16, MLK 0, and the injured player was Karan Harris, number 2, and he got up and ran off the field under his own power. There he is. It's always good to see that. And he has played a decent game for the Trojans.
They must have used the smelling salts on him because he might have got shaken up a little bit on that play. But I'm wondering if the homecoming festivities have affected the Martin Luther King football team, because they really had poor execution all game long, and this is not typical of a Coach Reynolds coach football team. They've done a great job all season up until this point.
You're absolutely right. And with it being the 6th week of the season, and usually your teams start to gel and start to execute a lot better and start to come together as a complete unit. And this was an important game for the Crusaders as far as points in the state standings are concerned.
Absolutely. This game, if they continue at the rate that they're going right now, and it's only a few minutes left in this ball game, this is going to hurt their standings all the way around. I think they'll even drop down a little bit in the city race.
That's right. Henry Ford, on the other hand, as what a nice run that time by Arnott Brooks. And Brooks is slammed to the turf after being run down, but man, did he ever come out of there.
And again, we're talking about missed tackles. That has been a problem all game long, and there's another big play that Henry Ford is allowed to possess the football. And I think if Henry Ford scores on this drive, realistically, we can turn out the lights, Martin Luther King High School.
And go to the dance.
And go to the dance alone.
4:12 on the clock. A big run by Brooks right there. And there's a look at the sidelines as they congratulate Brooks, the coaches and the players.
And they're staying with that formation with the, he pops right through the middle and walks into the end zone.
Hubbard gets his 3rd touchdown from 9 yards out.
Well, there it is. My vote is in. Player of the game, Mr. Hubbard.
It's unanimous. Dennis Hubbard. And here's Walter Tune-Up Neal. Walt, take it away.
I got to tell you, taking a look at the scoreboard, it doesn't indicate this is a hard-hitting affair. The latest injury was the Henry Ford Trojans' number 2, Teron Harris, defensive back, knee to the head. Refused to be taken by the ambulance. However, he's done for the day. Teron Harris, number 2 for the Trojans, done for the day. Injury report. Back to you guys upstairs.
Thank you, Walter Tune-Up. And Henry Ford getting some leg action into the game. The kick is up, and it's good. Now here's another look at that Dennis Hubbard run from 9 yards. Nothing different, just straight ahead. Here you go. Take a look at it, Ron.
Here it is. Set up the middle, 2 tight ends. They're blocking up front. That's poor tackling from King. They're just not supporting in the center of that line. I don't think that their back is reading the keys as good as they probably should. Because anytime that guard steps straight ahead, if you're that middle backer, you're supposed to try to knock his teeth out and just plug that hole. And they just haven't stepped up and did that in today's football game. I think during the earlier part of the season, they did a great job at doing that.
2 years ago, these two teams met in the city playoffs on the city championship game, and Henry Ford was victorious then. I stand corrected, folks. And this kick is out of bounds, so flags fly. I stand corrected. It was King victorious over Henry Ford. That game was played at Wayne State University. And I believe Clarence Thompson was a member of that team. I don't remember the final score. Anybody knows, does anyone in the box remember the final score of that game?
A little sports trivia?
No? No. I thought Aaron would. But Aaron doesn't know. Chief doesn't know. Know it? Iceman. Iceman would know.
Well, I tell
Iceman. George Gervin. We're going back a long way.
That kickoff went out of bounds, and King takes over at the 35-yard line. But actually, that's a blessing for Henry Ford, because King didn't even have an opportunity to return that kickoff, because they may have gotten a big play out of it. Now they seem like they're really unorganized. They run around the field like a Chinese fire drill.
And there is a pass to Henderson. And that one's, they went to that
and he may have
pass
gotten
play
back
a couple times, but that's been unsuccessful for Detroit King. And here's the scoring summary for Detroit Henry Ford. 2 minutes, 60 yards in 4 plays, and capping it was a Dennis Hubbard 8-yard run from the line of scrimmage. And hey, Dennis Hubbard is my vote for the player of the game.
Ditto on that. He's also my vote for player of the game. Dennis Hubbard has done one outstanding job today in this football game. And we're not just talking about offense. He's done a great job on defense also.
Henderson on the reception.
There's another
from Bryant.
outstanding pass from the freshman quarterback, Bryant. He's hanging in tough, and he threw a nice ball out there. And he had some passes earlier in the football game that should have been caught that were dropped. And you never know, those plays could have made a difference in today's game.
Here's another look at it. One of the few receptions for the Crusaders, as Bryant staying in the pocket real well there.
He steps up and makes a big league throw on that play. That was really a nice play, and it's 3rd and short at this point. I think Henry Ford right now is content to let that clock run and force them to drive all the way down the football field if they are going to score. It would be nice to see King score so they won't get shut out on their homecoming day.
The King Crusaders take a timeout as the clock ticks down to 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this contest, and Jim Reynolds comes out to meet his offensive unit, and the Crusaders will talk it over. But you know what this means for Detroit Henry Ford as far as getting points. Henry Ford will gather a lot of points for beating a team that's 5-0.
That's right. This has to be a tremendous confidence builder for the Henry Ford kids. They've done a good job all day today, and the games that they've lost this year have been very close football games. So they're doing a good job today. They came in here ready to play. I think Coach Marshall really has the kids focused on coming over here and playing a quality game against King.
Next week, Detroit King has another tough game, and they'll face the 5-0 as we speak right now. Detroit Pershing will come into, well, they'll visit Detroit Pershing at and that's, of course, if that's not the game of the week next week, but that's going to be another hard-hitting game because Pershing is 5-0 going into week number 6.
But this is an important point in the football season period, because this is when the cream rises to the top. This is when the better teams stake their claim that we are going to be number one and we will be city champions this year. The road to being a champion is a very tough road.
Detroit Pershing, and we don't know the outcome of this game yet. Detroit Pershing is playing Denby in week number 6, and that's going to be a tough game for Detroit Pershing. But King will visit them next week, and in week number 6 for Detroit Henry Ford, they will be playing Mufford. So they have 2 tough games back-to-back here.
And there's a wide-open number 21, another perfect pass by Bryant under pressure. And if King had did a little bit earlier in the game, we may have a different football game. But right now, they're making the throws, he has the protection, and they're catching the football.
Adams on the reception, and here it is from ground level. Take a look at it, coming into your living room.
And there's a nice catch, and he's turning up. Good move. And I tell you, that looks a little bit like Bobby Pilot. I'm not sure who number 21 is. The book says Adams, but Adams is a player on my Little League baseball team, and I'm not sure that that's Adams.
Oh, okay.
But he's wearing the number, so we have to call him based on that number.
Good little run by Anderson, trying to get up there and follow his big offensive tackle who was pulling across. Slips on the play. Excuse me, that's not Anderson, that's Morris on the carry.
That's Morris in that one-back set. He's like a little powerful spark plug, and any of you football fans from years ago, if you remember a guy named Robert Newhouse, former Dallas Cowboy, Morris looks a little bit like Newhouse.
That's right. And there are the totals for Dennis Hubbard. What a day for that senior running back. 21 carries, 211 yards, an average of 10.5 per carry. Big numbers for a big-time back.
Big-time back, and you have to give a lot of credit to that offensive line, because the offensive line controlled King's defensive front today and allowed Hubbard to pop through there unmolested on a couple of occasions. And after that, it was just a foot race. And every time it was a foot race, he came out on top.
And we can't forget what he's been doing defensively. And he also had an interception on the defensive side of the ball and made a couple of plays by breaking up some pass plays. So overall, he has played some excellent games.
Breaking up pass plays, and he's been in on several tackles.
Morris on the carry again, and Hubbard on the stop for Detroit Henry Ford.
And there's a flag on the play. Looks like clipping against Martin Luther King, according to the King players. They did an outstanding job, and we have to give some tribute to the band director and the members of the Martin Luther King band.
And that's right, and that's a fairly new band, I must add, and they've done an outstanding job with that part of their program. As Adams will get into the end zone for King's only score of the afternoon.
And that's that same play, that quick slant. They finally connected on it. It's been there all game. A very sharp pass by Bryant. Number 21 made a nice catch, and it was a foot race to the end zone. Martin Luther King is on the board.
But that touchdown comes a little late with 1:09 left here in the fourth quarter of play, and the score 23-6 as Detroit King gets set to take it in for 2. But gratification nevertheless for Detroit King, as the 2-point attempt is no good. Help me out here, Ron.
Yeah, we're going into the closing minute. It's been a tough day for Martin Luther King. That pass play kind of makes him feel a little bit better about today's game. There's Bryant completing the pass to number 21. He's making a great run. He's got good speed. He's racing towards the end zone, and he's in for the score. That kind of lets them know that, hey, if we had did this earlier in the game, if we had caught some of those balls that we dropped, could have had a different football game. If we had stopped those big plays, if we did not give up the big play, we would have had a different football game. But unfortunately, we cannot cut the plays out of the film that we don't like. If we could do that, I guess we'd win every game.
And that was a look at the man who made that last score for Detroit King on a nice reception and run after the reception.
What's the odds-on favorite for an onside kick here?
Here it is. Nope.
No,
line drive. This one will go into the end zone. It will be touchback. And Henry Ford will start this series at their own 20-yard line. 1 minute and 9 seconds here left in the fourth quarter of play.
With 1 minute and 9 seconds left in the fourth quarter of play, Henry Ford has to travel 80 yards for another score or just maintain the football for 1 minute and 9 seconds. I'm still trying to, a little bit puzzled why they did not go for the onside kick and try to get the ball right back and go for another quick score.
There's the scoring summary for Detroit King. 2 minutes and 41 seconds ticked off the clock. 65 yards in 6 plays and a 46-yard touchdown pass from Bryant to Adams. Henry Ford will just sit on the ball here and let this one run out as King getting a little rough in there.
A little rough, a little aggressive. The frustration is starting to, the reality of what's happening here on Homecoming is starting to settle in with the players. They're not happy about it. And they're down inside of 50 seconds.
With this being homecoming for the Crusaders, as we talked about earlier and all during the broadcast, maybe some distractions for the 5-0 King Crusaders, but nevertheless they had to strap them up and play a game. And the Henry Ford Trojans will take their record to 4-2 overall and get a whole bunch of points as we look forward to the state tournament. And the first 4 teams out of each region will make it, and Henry Ford not far away from being one of those 4 teams.
I think we're coming down to the closing seconds of this ball game. The Henry Ford players are starting to hold their hands up and their helmets up, and